Indoor cycling, Zwift, racing, parenting. We cover those and all of our hopes and dreams in between. Welcome to the Talk Dirty to Me podcast, an entertaining look into the lives of everyday people trying to achieve virtual cycling glory from our basements and garages from around the world. This podcast is rooted in Zwift and has evolved into found friendships, fitness, health, and a little sprinkle of humor. This may be one of the only podcasts where a little heavy breathing shouldn't scare you away, because we're riding our bikes while we're recording it.
All right, everybody's back. We're blessed today to hang out with our friend Alan Fischer, who those of us on the Discord know is a wealth of information when it comes to tiny beans that we all love and enjoy. I have to say, personally, when I think of what am I going to drink on a bicycle, first one's water, second one is coffee, right? And that's why Alan's here. So, welcome, Alan.
Morning, Alan.
Right.
Morning. Why don't you give us a little information about yourself?
Yeah, so on the coffee side, I'm the co-owner of Perc Coffee out of Savannah. But my background was really the military officer for 17 years. I was in the Army. Which,
thank you for your service.
Yeah.
thanks. I had a ton of fun. Ended up with a kind of devastating foot injury. So didn't get to do Army things anymore. And couldn't run. I was a big runner. And really poured myself back into my other hobby is coffee. So back in undergrad, I majored in kinesiology with a big focus on nutrition and performance. I was a cyclist at West Point, cross-country skier. I just wanted to win more races. So I read, I think, everything had been published circa 2008 on caffeine. I was like, oh, I need to do this. So I started drinking just like god-awful coffee as a caffeine delivery system. It's like coffee, 45-minute warm-up, go take a dump before the race, get to the start line and go. And that's all coffee was to me. And then it was about 3 years later, was in Savannah, and my boss in the Army bought some coffee from some guy at the farmer's market. Our crappy little Mr. Coffee Maker, and blew my mind. This actually tastes good. This is great. What is this? So I went to find the guy. And he's in this little 400 square foot space, and cool dude with glasses and a beard and whatever. Like, dude, tell me about this. And so it was my now business partner Philip, and he would loan me a brewer every month or every week. So I'd go home with like a Clever or an Aeropress or a V60 and come back. We'd nerd out for like an hour, and he'd listen to all my stupid questions and just kind of like shepherd me along and give me something else to go play with. And it was amazing. And turned in this whole journey. That was 2011, and we were scheming then for when I'd get out of the Army someday. And we would take Perc from a retail or a wholesale business into like coffee shop retail and just grow it. So
That's cool.
Yeah, that's happened over the past few years. Moved to Atlanta from business school in Charlottesville. While I was there, was simultaneously a new dad in business school, finishing up my time in the Army, and opening a coffee shop in Atlanta.
Wow.
So it was a stretch of job levels of sleep for sure. Yeah.
So what you're saying is you lack the ability to multitask?
I didn't say I did any of them well.
We know that's not true.
One of my favorite quotes from Parks and Rec, which is a show we all love and adore, is never half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing.
There you go.
I live by that. But anyway, I have to ask, Is there somebody on the team that does the design work, or do you hire that out?
Yeah,
For
so
the Perc stuff.
that's a great question. So we had a graphic designer external for a long time, for like 10 years. We changed that recently, but so my partner Philip is very, very much that design half of the duo. He's got his hand
Good job,
in
Philip.
all of it. Yeah, he does a great job. Not my department.
To me, totally related but unrelated. The packaging is bar none.
Yeah.
I mean, you never see coffee packaging that looks that attractive. So, good job.
That's
Philip.
awesome.
Bravo.
And we have, so sorry, this isn't the question you asked me. I'm going to answer it anyway.
Bring it.
We have, this is seriously like in for the past decade and change of coffee. Like this is to me the coolest thing I've ever been part of or been around. So we're bringing these two coffees. It's really one coffee. They're both from the same producer on the same farm in Colombia. They're processed a little differently, and the tasting totally different. They're called the Luna Azul and the Red Sunset. Well, our roaster, the guy we trained to roast the beans and put them out, decided to use his graphic design background and take a crack at the bag. So the guy who you get some of these, who roasted it, also designed the bags and is responsible for those. It's so cool. And then we're doing like a nerd box of these, or like you get both of them, so you try both coffees.
That's cool.
And we're doing an event with the guys from Colombia who exported from Colombia, imported to the U.S. And doing a remote call with the farmer. So it's going to be like super fun to just talk about. I mean, it's just such a neat thing. Like our QC guy went to Colombia and like got to interact with this farm, and it's like the cutting edge of what's happening in coffee, and then like our own employees were so excited about it that one of these guys just like decided to design the bag. It's so cool.
That's excellent.
That's awesome, man.
It's so cool.
I mean, you can always tell when somebody's passionate about something.
Yeah.
And just in the first like 5 minutes talking with you, it's like, oh man, this guy, he doesn't work a day in his life because he loves his job. So you started the company as more of a wholesale, you said? So you'd source the beans, roast them, and sell them?
Yeah, so in Philip's background, he had been at Jerry Joe's in Athens before and was roasting there and managing there, and kind of like every entrepreneur, like he had this skill set. He looked around and was like, we should do this differently or better, and was like, Janine was like, fine, go do it. so they looked around and saw an opportunity in Savannah and moved to Savannah in 2010. He started Perc, and roasted out of a little space, and it was primarily wholesale, which is, I think, even more cool that a customer, like direct to customer, was 10% of his business. And here's some kid who knew nothing, like wandering into his shop, like, let's talk about coffee for an hour. and he would do it. And it was amazing. And that's never been lost on me. And it's something that I still get so excited when anyone walks into the shop, they're buying a bag of beans, like, oh, how are you going to brew them? Like, anyway, some people might hate it, but I'm pretty excited about it.
Well, we certainly had enough questions that we needed a whole new channel for it. So
an improved channel.
We're still a little raw on that one. Is it approved because Sully made it? Is that why it's approved?
Yeah,
of course. All right. Anyway, so now the term you used, which was caffeine delivery system. Sully, you might have missed it. You were sleeping in, I think.
no, we start at 5:30.
We start when Sully gets here.
I like every week I say, hey, I'll see you guys at 5:30, and last week it worked. So
Drew and I dragged our feet long enough.
I'm on to you now.
yeah,
I'm on to you now.
3 days in a row waking up at 5 or earlier is just
it's not ideal for you, so.
Speaking of caffeine,
Sully needs his beauty sleep.
It's It's not happening.
Not sustainable.
I'll go back into full Night Rider mode.
Watch out, Kit. Watch out.
Yeah.
So
You got to draw a line somewhere, Dad.
caffeine delivery system was the term.
It's a great phrase.
And in my personal training, I learned one very important thing about myself, and that's that if it's hot and black, I could drink it. Most recently, I may have come across the same realization that you did, where, coffee actually has a flavor. Strange.
Coffee can taste like more than a burnt tongue.
Yeah, right. It's amazing. I got one of your Sumatra bags, which was, I believe, had the flavor profile on it of plum, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can't remember what the other note was, but I was like, okay, plum, I'll see. I opened the bag. Immediately, it hits you. I'm like, wow, that really does smell fruity. And then, brewing it up, it tastes that way too, which is mind-blowing for me. So I'm just going to say thanks for expanding my brain a little bit more. So that was my first bag from you. And then I also got the Columbia, which
nice,
delicious. And I know these fellas got some too. So what'd you guys get?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Colombian fan. My father drank it my whole time growing up as a kid, so it's kind of what I grew up knowing. It was that same idea when you open up a fresh bag of coffee. Like, wow, it smells amazing. The Sumatra, again, was really good. Again, I'm not, because I've been drinking Colombian and all that for so many years. The Sumatra was a little different because of the fruitiness, but I was like, yeah, I get on board with that. That was really yummy. So,
tell me your dad without telling me your dad. Use the term yummy.
Yummy. It was yummy. But it was the same idea where, the fruitiness kind of, you didn't expect it. And then when you tried it, you were like, all right. That's where that's at. That was really good.
All right. So, full disclosure, I'm running low on Perc Coffee. One bag right now. I'm going to order it as we speak. What bag am I getting?
Did you like the fruitiness? Or do you want something less
I would
fruity?
say I liked it, but I don't know if it would be like an everyday kind of coffee for me. Like it's a very much an exception.
It's a good afternoon drink, definitely. That's for sure.
I mean, if you haven't had it yet, just our Brazil, the Brazil Legendary. I mean, it's just such a sturdy cup of everyday coffee. Like it's the best version of just straight coffee. It's so good.
Now, when I pull up your website, it pops up with Mexico.
Mexico is really great. That's the NAFTA doesn't exist coffee. It went from Mexico to we've got an importer in Canada. The two-time Canadian barista champion. We found this super awesome coffee, brought it from Mexico to Canada, and then back to the U.S. for us. It took months just because it got stuck at the Canadian border trying to get back into the U.S. It's ridiculous.
So what you're saying is
it's worth it. Canadian border?
It's really good. Yeah, I mean so that coffee tastes a lot like what I would normally describe a natural Ethiopian coffee. Like it's sweet with some berries to it. It's not super intense. It's not a punch in the face. It's just kind of really sweet, really nice. Yeah.
Pretty cool. I should give it a try. That's the problem is I end up with coffee overload. I'm like, oh my God. They all sound amazing. I want to try the different profiles, but got to choose one.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you mentioned everyday drinker. Coffee is like some of these. So we've got the same guy in Canada, Cole. He sourced a Colombian coffee. It just landed at our roastery. It is one of the most insane coffees in the world. Like, it is. You'll drink it and not believe that it's coffee that you're drinking. It's insane. Like, total face melter. I can't drink that every day. I don't want 2 cups in a day. It's the one that, like, you drink a cup of that, you think about it for a week, but you need something like the Brazil. It's just like, I just need some coffee. That's why Sumatra was so special to me. It's like, it was interesting enough to have that plum sweetness.
Yep.
But it wasn't very acidic. It was just really sweet, really easy to drink.
Real drinkable. Yep.
I just found another 2-pound bag hiding at our training center and snatched it up. Like, that's the last of it that exists. And the last 2 pounds of it I grabbed, I thought were going to last a while.
Yeah.
That coffee's just so good. Yeah.
Greg, what was your favorite choice?
You finish your order,
now
Doug?
I'm looking at all the coffees on
Almost.
order.
I had to get a mug too.
I don't need another mug in my life. I need a sticker pack.
Everybody needs a mug in their life.
We always say
My wife,
Always.
over the holidays, my wife got the kids like, I think 6 different fun mugs. I'm like, I don't have pantry space for this. I'm the dishwasher manager, so it's like, what are you doing to me? These don't fit.
This is going to require an entire overhaul of the entire set.
Yeah, which I already did last year for the same reason. So
One in, one out. Greg.
I'm not kidding. It was discussed. So I'll out myself. I haven't actually placed my order yet. I get paralysis. I'm still working through a 2.5-pound bag of the last beans we bought. And every time I go in, well, I'm at the back of that bag now, so I need to order. I'm looking.
It's always amazing to me how long the bags last, though. You're like, oh, man, it's going to come to an end soon. And you're still scooping like 2-3 days later. You're like, thank God for that. That is amazing.
All right, my order's complete.
I sent Greg some coffee once, and he thanked the
I
Secret
didn't know.
You sure did.
I didn't know. Very good coffee.
Santa. I sent it. I even sent him a tracking order.
Look,
He did the same thing to me as well, and I knew exactly.
Dodd figured it out. Like he.
in my defense, Sully
Thanks,
knows all, so I had no reason to believe that it wasn't
He thought I
Wasn't
sent.
the Secret Santa?
He thought I found his Secret Santa's tracking
somehow.
info.
Somehow,
Sent it to
some way.
him.
I'm sorry, Sully.
All right.
I'm good. I'm not that good.
Alan, I went with the Brazil
We're
It's good coffee.
and the Java Frinza
the Java's great. On
and
that,
a
so
rock
this,
on mug.
nice. Yeah, this Sumatra and this Java are the first 2 Indonesian coffees we've ever brought in. They typically just haven't been very good, honestly. And yeah, I mean, the world of coffee growing, coffee processing is crazy right now. It's advancing so much, and we get super special coffees like this.
Interesting. Now, when I think of like coffee roasting and flavor profiles, it reminds me a lot of like hops for beer, right? Because it has
Sure.
that subtle bitterness, and I know a lot of us enjoy beer. Probably some of us, enjoy it more than others, but to me, it's like that's just another thing for me to get into. I enjoy a good IPA, I'll be honest, but getting up early and hitting the bike every day, not always conducive to an IPA in the evening, for me anyway. But coffee, man, I'm a 2-cup per day guy, and both those cups are delicious coffee. I got nothing else to complain about. I mean, I'll find something, but readily available, no. So
I love the ritual of it. Like I had to do a blood draw on Monday, annual physical, and like had to fast and got up before I got on the bike. Like I've got my normal routine to go down. I'm just kind of standing at my little coffee station at the house, kind of spin in a circle 3 times. Like, I don't know what to do with myself. And
But
then
you can still drink black coffee when you're fasting.
oh, they didn't tell me that.
See, you should have got to me
You
sooner.
need a new doctor. Yeah. You got to talk to God.
That doctor does not drink coffee, I guarantee you. No, lad probably doesn't.
How do you usually take your coffee, Alan? I know. So
Yeah.
my brother-in-law is like a tea enthusiast, and he tells me that, most people who drink tea don't usually drink it black. It's kind of more of like a, party foul to not put something in it. Do you put half and half, anything in yours, or?
I don't. I mean, there's caveats to that, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're making latte
Right.
art.
Right. Which, I make my wife a latte every morning. I make my 3-year-old, a coffee, which is hot chocolate with steamed milk. But yeah, I typically just drink a lot of just Americanos, because espresso is a very interesting, very deep rabbit hole. So it's fun to play with, and a lot of just black filter coffee. But there's some coffees. Actually, that Java is one that I think is actually a little better with a little milk in it.
Yeah.
It rounds out the flavor profile. My wife always drinks milk in her coffee, and we brought in a coffee from Yemen, I guess 2 years ago now. It was the most expensive coffee we'd ever brought in, super high end, super, super interesting. Took a sip of hers with milk in it one time, and I was like, oh my God, this is better. And here I am taking this coffee that's, 8 times more expensive than just like the Brazil,
Yeah.
and I'm putting milk in it, but it turned it from this kind of, it was an interesting coffee already. It was spicy, a little bit of blueberry to it, and then all of a sudden it became this like cardamom bun full of blueberry jam. It was so good.
That's so cool.
Can I just say, like, the descriptors that you have for the palate on these is something that's way outside of my vernacular. Like, not even there. Like, did you say cardamom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know what cardamom tastes like. So I wasn't searching for that one. But now I'm curious. When you
That's
source
awesome.
these beans, do you actually go to the countries?
So usually no. These Columbias that we've got right now or about to release are a little bit of an exception where Marvin did go out there. But typically no. Like that's really not our core competency. There's, as you would imagine, a whole process of getting things out of a country.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially
And then
one
into
like
ours?
Yemen, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's just not, it's really not our core competency. And if we had a choice between the two, like I'd rather bring a farmer from, Colombia or Ethiopia to Savannah or Atlanta than for us to go there if we had a choice between the two.
Sure.
With like
That's
a
cool.
farmer with their little metal briefcase, and they open it up, and it's like all these little bags of beans. And it's like,
Well, no, more so just to see the impact, right? Because we have people that, the farmer in Sumatra didn't get to see you taste the Sumatra for the first time and be like, oh, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Or, our shops are, hundreds of cups a day, and like it makes people's day. I wish we had a better way of like giving some of that joy back to the farmers in a tangible way,
Right.
other than just like the transactional, like your coffee's great, we'll give you more money for it,
yeah.
That's
which helps.
awesome.
Do you have farmers that you go back to, like you've developed a relationship with, or?
Yeah. So we've had some that have been super, super reliable favorites across years. And of course, like coffee, it's a crop, right? So it changes and the flavor profile changes. But like that Brazil we've got, the Legender, we're on our, I don't know, maybe third crop of that,
Whoa.
fourth crop of that. We had one from Ethiopia, the Rico, that we just couldn't get this year, but the last 2 years was phenomenal. And, we were actually talking this week about, can we lock in, 80 bags of that coffee now, sight unseen, just knowing that everything they put out is fantastic. So would like to do that. Yeah. We're kind of an interesting size right now where there's some coffees like these ones from Colombia, like we bought all of it. Like there was no more to buy.
Right.
So, and you hit a point where like if Starbucks wanted to bring in that coffee, it would serve one of their shops for a day. Like it's not meaningful to try to release that.
Yeah.
So we're small enough that we can still do it, but we're also big enough that we have enough of an audience to bring in like this one from Esperanza in Colombia that's super, super, super high end, and not be scared that no one's going to buy it.
Well, I'll buy a bag.
It will melt your face off. It's so crazy.
That's what I want. I want a cup of coffee that melts my face off. Like, just the jitter, like.
What kind of, is there like training that you have to go through to become like a coffee brewer or roaster?
Sommelier.
Yeah, kind of yes to all of that. And there's some structure around it. The Specialty Coffee Association has some courses. We do a lot of internal stuff. In fact, this is so cool. Yesterday and today, I get really cool. You couldn't tell.
Nerd out,
That's
dude.
awesome.
Yesterday and today, our quality assurance manager. So their job is basically like standardizing the brew recipes for all of our shops, standardizing training, making sure training's happening, conduct it, and make sure everything tastes right. Well, they developed this like palate development course where they've got bowls around the table that have cherries, blueberries, green apple, red apple, brown sugar, simple syrup, honey, like all of these things, and they're tasting in sections with people. Like, okay, between the simple syrup, the brown sugar, and the honey, like let's talk about how these are different sweetnesses and what do you get out of them.
Right.
And that's part of where there's this whole flavor wheel that exists in coffee, but ultimately if I say it tastes like an apple, that could mean 100 different things to you.
Sure.
So having a way to describe that, or some of these coffees that taste like something you've never had. We had a Rwandan coffee that to me tastes like star fruit. No question, it was star fruit. But half the people that tasted it have never had a star fruit. They wouldn't have had a word for it. Yeah, right?
Nope.
That's
not
crazy.
We try to do training. We do barista training. We do seed to cup is kind of our like. This is coffee. This is how it's grown. This is how we bring it in. We roast it. This is how it goes out and how it gets brewed.
Yep. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Interesting.
So yeah, we do training.
We do training.
Do you offer those classes to the public,
That was my question.
or is it just internally?
Yeah, not right now. We used to do some wholesale account training. We stopped that during COVID because we just weren't exposing each other, right? But no, we want to get back to more of the events where exists out in the world. I'll let you find it if you want. Every morning for like 4 months, I would get up, still be in my pajamas, like brewing my first cup of coffee in the morning in my kitchen, like a morning brew along video live on Facebook and Instagram, and it was like just varying levels of nerdery, different brew methods, and like here's how to get a great cup of coffee at home.
That's awesome.
Or how not to in some cases.
Yeah. Because there's, plenty of people that do that. They don't make a cup of coffee at home ever. They go to local coffee shop, they go to Starbucks, whatever.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to make a cup of coffee. So those videos are probably crucial for a lot of people.
We're
It
not
can be
going to
really
use the
intimidating, right?
we're not going to use the corporate giant that is known as Starbucks in this
No.
podcast.
Nope.
Not today.
Got
There's a
it.
lot to learn
Sponsored,
from
I'm
them.
That's cool.
Yeah, like, so for me, I drink black coffee. Like, I don't put anything in my coffee at all. My wife, she loves creamer, but like a caramel creamer type thing.
Oh,
So she also does not. Somebody just go, is that you, Craig?
Yes, that's great.
correct.
She, she likes coffee. I don't think she's ever gotten to the point where she's had the flavor of coffee.
Right.
Be, full front
Sure.
there. When we're on vacation, she puts milk in it, which is fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with milk and coffee.
I made her a cup of the Sumatra, and she tasted it, and she's like, "Wow, that's different." I was like, "Yeah, right. It doesn't taste like caramel." She's like, "No, it doesn't." She's just like,
That's awesome.
some people just don't want it. Like I just want the caffeine. I don't care about
It's a
the
caffeine
flavor.
delivery system.
There you go, CDS. I'm not
And
one of
that's
those
fine.
people.
I mean, we're really happy to do, interesting other things too. Like we, in our shops, like our signature drink is a Good Times latte. It's a vanilla lavender syrup that we make in a latte with habanero sugar.
Mm.
And
Habanero
yeah, I mean
sugar.
that's not just a little bit, because lavender and vanilla are like
Yeah.
really strong and really sweet flavored, and it cuts the sweetness a little bit.
Interesting.
I'm realizing right now just how like
How little we know.
mundane my palate is.
I see.
Well, but that's
You know
the
what I
thing. It's like you don't have to. Like you
Hey.
walk into Perc, you're like, I've never been here before. What should I get? What do you know I drink? Oh, I drink my coffee with caramel syrup and milk in it. Like, try a Good Times latte, you'll love it. And then you drink it, it's delicious, and like that's where you are in coffee, and that's okay.
That's awesome.
Do you have anything that tastes like Cinnamon Toast Crunch? That's where my palate's at. That's for Greg.
So, no, but not for lack of trying. We've experimented with some different cereal milk lattes. So yeah, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is on the list.
I can get you the toast flavor and the
That's crazy.
cinnamon flavor, but
Here's
not
a-
the pound of sugar.
Here's for your after dark coffee: rum chata and Fireball whiskey. Right? We all know that one.
Sure. Everyone's PM drink.
Have you ever had it, Greg?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I would say not on a regular basis.
Oh, it's not a nightcap for you. Whoops.
You says the NA beer drinker to the NA beer drinker.
Right.
Do you take it before or after your non-alcoholic IPA?
Always before. I mean, I want to get the buzz
I'm
going.
learning here, Dodd.
No, I don't drink that at all. Actually. Yes. NA beer is like a whole other topic we're gonna have to get on eventually.
Sure.
Pete K will boycott the episode.
Yeah.
No, you
Shut
should
up,
do it
PK.
as a
Shout out,
point
PK.
counterpoint. Invite Pete, and then invite Jesse, brand ambassador for non-alcoholic beer, and let him go to blows.
We'll have a debate
Yeah.
episode.
That's it.
I'll moderate that debate.
So, Alan, here's a question that's on topic for the beer. First of all, do you drink beer?
Yes, but for the same reasons you mentioned earlier, a lot less commonly than I used to.
Uh-huh. If you had to pick your favorite beer, what would it be? I'm going to make some connections here.
Without any categorization, just like, whoa. That's really hard.
What about like a go-to beer?
There-
Do you have like a go-to beer?
Yeah, so Highland Brewery out of Asheville, is one of those breweries that can like do no wrong. Everything they release is really delicious. I'm drawing a blank on the name of it, but they had this 1554. That's it. They had this black lager for a long time that was like just the right balance of sweet and syrupy, but not too heavy, not like full stout. Yeah, I think that would be it.
Cool.
All right, I have a.
So do you gravitate toward dark beers?
I do, yeah.
Okay, I got to follow up. How do you feel about beers that advertise themselves as tasting like coffees? Because that's a pretty common flavor profile.
Yeah,
It's a darker roast for the
coffee
malt.
stout is
coffee
Yeah.
stout, etc.
Yeah, so we've done a lot of coffee beer collaborations.
Okay.
A lot of them actually do just use
Right.
straight coffee in them. And yeah, I mean, I generally like those. I think someone recently posted like the Founder's Breakfast Stout,
Yep.
which I mean, that's a delicious beer. I think it's more interesting though when brewers are willing to do something other than a stout with coffee.
Yep.
So there's been some really interesting ones, especially if you use a fruitier coffee. We're pairing that with like a sour or some kind of Hefeweizen, something like that gets interesting. Or Cascara, which is the discarded cherry. You can use that to make a tea. You can also use that in beer, and it's tart. It's really tart, and it would be a really interesting thing to use in some of those lighter beers.
Interesting.
So I'd rather see more of that.
Very cool.
Interesting.
So if you had to pick one brewer to use,
Oh,
you
stole my
introduced all
question.
of
I was
us
gonna
to the
ask
Clever
this too.
Dripper, and that's
Desert Island
Yeah.
Brewer. There you go.
the Clever Dripper has been a game changer, I think, for a lot of us.
Hold on, we're gonna make this twofold. First question is, if you had no power, you were like roughing it, right?
Okay.
Second question is, you have all the tools you need. Go.
Yeah. Yeah. So, no power. Can I heat water or
Sure.
no?
You can make
Over
fire,
fire.
right?
You can make
Come
fire.
on, Tom Hanks.
You've
Sure,
crafted
okay.
a clay bowl that'll withstand the
Look
fire.
at what I have created.
Keep going.
Yeah.
You just happen to have a battery-powered scale.
Well, so if I didn't have a scale, right? And I didn't have anything except for the brewer
Yes.
and maybe I have a grinder, maybe I don't. Maybe I'm just like mortar and pestling them, and
It's going deep.
happen to get them roasted over a fire or whatever. It'd be the Aeropress. It was my favorite brewer forever, and it's just the worst cup you get out of an Aeropress is really good. The best cup's not as good as some of the other brewers, but the worst cup is really great and it's super versatile. And there are very, very deep levels of nerdery that you can get into with what's going on with that brewer. So,
Can you explain an Aeropress to people that are listening that are like,
What's an Aeropress?
yeah.
I've only, used a K cup at my office.
Yeah, great. So an Aeropress is shaped like a smaller version of a water bottle, basically. It's about the size of the lower section of it. And it's got a little cap that screws on the bottom that has a flat filter you put into it. Open top, coffee goes in, water goes in, and it's got a plunger, just a big plunger that goes on top of it. And it pushes, the coffee water out through the bottom, through that filter. So it can be typically is an immersion method where the water and coffee just kind of sitting there doing their thing together, and then you press it all out. So it's almost like if you're familiar with the French press, it's kind of a similar concept, but it has a filter.
Interesting.
They're super robust. I mean, before we made instant coffee, like I traveled everywhere with mine. That was the impetus for making instant. So I would stop carrying my Aeropress and hand grinder everywhere. But I've made coffee on most continents with it, and in like the worst condition. I've literally woken up under a horse and like rolled over and then went to work making coffee in an Aeropress.
Interesting.
And Yeah, so it's super versatile,
Follow question
super
for
robust.
that.
You're not going to break it.
Were you using the horse for warmth?
Was the horse using you?
Asleep in a.
It's still classified.
This is actually a training area in Louisiana.
Okay.
There are just wild horses everywhere.
So
And
what you're trying not to
Asleep in a
say
field, wake up to.
is that you
Don't-
it was Keith Miller was the horse. Sorry, I don't mean to call you out in such a public forum, but
Didn't specify what part of Louisiana it was.
you're right. He didn't.
Near Alexandria.
I'm not really sure where that's at,
Check.
to be honest.
No.
Middle of
I don't
Louisiana.
know where.
Interesting.
That's
So the
my.
Aeropress is the no power, simplified, gotta have it brewer. Okay.
Totally. Even if you couldn't eat water, you can make a cold brew in it. It looks great. So Aeropress is that one, and the farthest opposite extreme. I've got all the things. Is definitely the decent espresso machine.
Okay.
Which one?
Say that one again.
It's decent espresso machine.
Decent.
Yeah, Decent's the brand. It's
Interesting.
it's crazy. There's nothing else out there like it. It does flow profiling and temperature profiling and pressure profiling. I mean,
Now, was
any parameter.
that the one that you showed a picture of? It had like a computer readout. That's that one.
Right.
Looked
Yeah,
like
it's
you
all
were in a
programmed
lab.
through the tablet. Yes.
Okay,
Sounds pretty decent.
that was hardcore. Somebody just say it sounds pretty decent.
He did say that.
A nod to Ron Swanson.
Somebody had to.
Mine just
There's
says
too
very
many,
good
too many
coffee.
dads on here.
That's so cool.
Does it link up with your heart rate monitor so you can see your heart rate start to spike as the coffee gets closer to being brewed?
As the caffeine delivery system kicks in.
It should, yeah.
Can you link it to your
Well,
intervals?
so there's
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, there's a. You probably could. It uploads it to. There's a visualizer, kind of like intervals, that it uploads all my shots to.
That's funny.
And, there's a whole similar nerd community on Basecamp. Is like the Discord version for decent users, and I mean, things like my highest scale links to it because somebody was like, "Why doesn't my highest scale link to this? I'll write some software for it." And then someone's like, "Oh, cool, there we go." And then the programmers at Decent were like, "All right, we'll implement it." And 48 hours later, it just worked. Or there's coffee tools that
Sounds like Zwift.
Have you ever had your coffee maker crash on you, asking for a friend?
oh yeah, that's what the Aeropress.
There you go. Off grid. Off grind. Ooh,
Ah.
coin a phrase.
I've got this. I'll show you guys one of these Sundays. I got this crazy 1830s Belgian pallet siphon thing that it. So one chamber sits above a flame and
I was gonna
holds the
say, is
water.
it like a
And-
Chem lab set.
still in some
Yeah.
bootlegger's shanty?
Yeah. So it heats up the water, which goes up through this tube into a different chamber where the coffee is sitting, and there's a balance for the
Oh, nice.
water chamber. So as enough water boils over, the water chamber goes up, a trapdoor slams the flame shut, so then it starts to cool the water chamber, creating a vacuum. So it sucks the now brewed coffee back up
Okay.
into the water chamber and resets the other way.
That's so
It
wild.
is,
And then that's your
yeah, and
completed
some
cup of coffee.
mad
at the end.
scientist. Yeah,
That's cool.
so
That's like the best Rune Goldberg I've ever heard of. Is it Rube? Rube Goldberg?
Rube.
I think it's Rube. It's like Mousetrap when you were a kid.
Research department.
Confident.
Oh, sorry.
yeah,
Rube. Rhymes with noob.
That's awesome. And what kind of, I mean, I know you had a discussion recently in the Discord about creamers for lattes and whole milk versus others. You know, what regular cup of coffee Is it something different than what you're putting in the lattes? Is it kind of, it depends?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, I guess it's a little about what you're trying to achieve. I mean, I would say a good half and half is probably the best option because you get more fat in it without diluting the coffee as much. So you get more of the coffee flavor, but part of what those milk fats do is coating both your tongue and emulsifying some of the chemicals in the coffee that are making it less bitter. So if you're doing it to avoid bitterness and make it smoother, the higher the milk fat, the better you're going to do on that.
Interesting.
Let's say you're lactose intolerant. What variety of milk would you suggest?
Yeah, not soy. It depends on the coffee a little bit. Because coffee it has a ton of acidic chemicals, lots of acidic chemicals. So that'll force, soy milk splits really badly. Almond can be hit or miss. Some oat is better than others. So I think someone might have been Bill using the Chobani extra creamy oat. Something like that does pretty well. I really like the Califia stuff, but oats kind of ubiquitous at this point. But yeah, you want stuff that's going to hold up to acid well.
Yeah. Very cool.
I'm still not 100% sold on the oat milk. Not for coffee, but just in general.
It's a weird thing, right?
It's so strange.
Well, I mean, it's because you're just taking starch and water. So if you add fat to it, you need emulsifiers for the fat. So there's no way to do it without adding stuff to it. Whereas almond milk, rice milk, whatever, you're just making in your blender.
Right.
So I'm with you, but also you do address nut allergies at least.
That's true.
One
Unfortunately,
of the more interesting ones that we've had was when, I guess growing up, the eggnog latte was always one of my favorites from the company that shall not be named. But when you try to do stuff like that and you try to get cute at home, it's the Voldemort company. You try to get cute and do stuff like that at home, it never comes out the same way. So no matter how many times you try to do an eggnog latte at home, it doesn't come out well because you always get that weird separation and I don't know. It's weird. So it's just listening about the soy milk and the separation that happens, and it's interesting.
Yeah. So one to try is one of my favorite versions of that is coconut milk, whole fat, and gonna go make Thai curry coconut milk. If you steam that or just heat it, it's got a really heavy consistency like eggnog does. So that plus some espresso or strongly brewed coffee, and then your nutmeg and cinnamon.
Good to go.
Some cocoa nog is pretty solid.
Gotta try that now. All right.
I think your first mistake is drinking eggnog, but that's just me.
Always just an eggnog fan.
It's just it's so thick and has this weird kind of nutmeggy spice flavor to it. I don't know.
That's eggnog is thick. Choice. Eggnog is thick because the alcohol thins it out, Todd.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what I'm doing wrong? I need more alcohol in it, apparently.
You're sitting around drinking a glass of just eggnog, you're probably 12 years old.
Yeah, there's nothing more refreshing to me. Come in, hot summer day, you've been running around in a field, football practice.
Eggnog was a bad choice.
And just toss back a big old 12-ounce glass of eggnog. Man, talk about living.
Let me refresh myself.
So, Alan, we've talked a lot of hot coffee. Our household are firm cold brew believers. So, what so of the different roasts you guys have, what would you recommend for cold brew, and where does cold brew fit in the coffee landscape?
Yeah, that's. Yeah. So if you are going to do cold brew, and most typically people go to the Brazil or similar. I guess it depends on why you're cold brewing to start with. If you're cold brewing because you want something cold to drink that has that higher concentration, but you don't mind the interesting flavors, then something like the natural Ethiopia, totally the way to go. It's way sweeter. And it has some of the fruit flavors will come through. If you're doing it because you want to avoid acidity at all costs, then yeah, stick to something like the Brazil for sure. I mean, the reason cold brew does exist at all is so coffee is the most chemically complex thing that humans consume, and all of the different compounds extract the chemicals coming out of the particle into the water. That happens at different rates, and even those comparative rates change with temperature. That being said, below about 170 degrees, a lot of the more acidic chemicals either extract really slowly or not at all. So if you're trying to avoid those, brewing at, say, 140 degrees or below leaves you with less of that. So if that's your motivation for cold brew, then yeah, go with the Brazil. But if you like the sweetness, then yeah, something like the Ethiopia, natural Ethiopia, really sweet, really good. I also favor a drip grind, not a super coarse grind. Warmer water and a faster brew. You get less of that kind of like funkiness that comes with it with cold brew, but you can still accomplish the same thing.
Interesting.
See, I think it's twofold for us. One, when I make coffee in the morning, my children are late to school. If I do a pour over. But two, I think like cold brew is awesome for people that don't like coffee.
Yeah.
Because like getting past that bitterness and acidity, like I know at least for me, like the first time I had cold brew, and it was like, well, I can drink this without a thing of sugar and a thing of milk, and like I can actually drink this, and it changed my palate. Where like 2 years later, I probably had hot coffee again for the first time, and I was like, oh, I can drink this black. It was like the gateway drug for me.
Yeah.
Cold brew the gateway.
Yeah, and it does something else that's interesting too. Like, so I'm going to say some numbers that are totally meaningless to everyone in the world, and I recognize that. So
Let's nerd out.
The clever that you're brewing at home right now is that resulting thing that we're calling coffee is mostly water. It's about 1.3% coffee solids dissolved in. That's kind of normal for most drip brews, like 1.2 to 1.4%. If I pull you a shot of espresso, it's going to be like 9 or 10% coffee solids. So way more concentrated, right? But there's this whole space that exists between 1.5% and 10% that we don't really use very much. And that's where the cold brew, it sits right around 2% usually after it's diluted. So it's occupying a space of concentration that you don't normally experience in coffee, which makes it kind of its own slightly interesting thing. Americanos kind of do that too. Like with an Americano, you're taking that 10% concentration and diluting it to whatever strength you want. The Aeropress kind of lives in that middle ground too. And the more concentrated it is, the more colloids, suspended particles in solution there are that actually block some of the receptors on your tongue, decreasing bitterness further, which is why we're more tolerant of bitter espresso coffees than that same coffee in drip.
Interesting.
Huh. That's fascinating.
I agree.
So I have like a theory about coffee shops and cold brew. They try to make their cold brews taste more like coffee. And I feel like cold brew, like it's coffee, but it has its own like style. And they try to, like, it seems like they choose really bitter, like bright like blends in order to make it taste like more like what people expect, and everybody's like, "Oh, I don't like it."
Yeah, I have a lot of strong feelings about cold brew, but I'll say that we no longer cold brew at all. We used to have a bottling line and everything. We just don't do it anymore. And for the shops, we do a flash brew, which is you brew it hot, immediately chill it over ice, and we get that same concentration. So it's that more concentrated coffee. But we do with those. We always have 2 coffees on bar for espresso and drip. One that's something interesting and bright and exciting. So it's the Honduras changing to Nicaragua, and then it'll be the Java right now. And the other is something like the Brazil. And so if you come in, you say, give me a cold brew. Like, I'm pouring you a flash brew of the Brazil, and you're going to be pretty happy with it.
Interesting.
Yeah, like the right thing for the right person.
Yeah. So I haven't started, like we've only been using the Clever for the coffee we got from you so far. So we haven't tried it in the toddy yet.
Nice.
So it'll be interesting. We've been trying to eliminate all the bad coffee that we have first.
Life's too short to drink bad coffee, Sully.
Like all the Amazon coffee that I think my wife ordered, because it was just like, hey, I'm going to mix this with my protein
Waiting
shake.
for a hand to come in the frame.
She was giving me dirty looks, but I made her do a taste test the other day because I was like, hey, if I'm going to make this like fancy coffee for you, I need to know that you can tell the difference and you actually like it. So I put some of the bad coffee in the Clever, and she was like, oh, this is bad. I was like, I know. Good. Glad we're on the same. This is going to be more expensive, but I'm glad we're on the same page.
And some people prefer, and some people actually seek out really bitter coffee. Like, that's what you want. I mean, I feel that way about IPAs. Someone wants the hoppiest IPA out there. Like, go for it. I'm not having one. But go for it.
The more hops, the better, man. That's for me. I'm talking my language now.
Yeah, I mean, we have like people at our church. Like, we switched coffees, and it was like, man, like they really wanted like old, like they wanted instant coffee. Because that was just like the comfort zone for them.
That's what I go for.
So Sully, where you are, check out King State. They're phenomenal, and they do instant coffee very similar to ours, and it's phenomenal.
Or
Where's
just
the
keep buying
flavor
his
crystals,
coffee.
though?
Not your grandma's instant.
I said, where's the flavor crystals?
They're at that last drop.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? The one that's really good.
Yeah.
Now you're crossing brands here.
Across the
Folgers
streams.
and Maxwell House.
Well, Greg, I believe it's getting close to the time where normally we have our weekly segment. And
that's right.
Alan's going to be along for the ride this time. So I told him, make sure and giddy up.
Yeah.
I actually tell him that. I don't know where that came from. Sorry.
That's fine. We are returning, as we do each week, to Category Catastrophes, where we recount what nonsense Zwift has been up to in trying to figure out how to band each other, who should race against whom, and who should be winning races. And I think this last week has been a hot one.
This is way better.
This last week has been a hot one. Previously, on prior episodes, you'll recall that they did some weird, I think the ZRL Classics were AutoCat.
Yeah.
And that wasn't.
Yep.
So that was mostly just very confusing.
Chase races.
Yeah. Because, I don't know, I would, depending on who was in the field, I would be a B or an A or a C. I avoided those races personally.
You're always an A in my book, Greg.
Wink.
There may be a certain team member that was like, when did Greg promote to B? And I was like, I don't know, 2 years ago?
Can I know that team member's name?
After the cast.
Bonica.
Nice.
No, if it had been somebody else, I would have protected their identity.
Excellent. But this week,
Obviously-
Zwift has announced.
Obviously, Steve has his cats monitoring who's what category. They missed it.
Right. So, and they report back reliably every
They
time.
couldn't see that one.
So this week, Zwift is taking a stab at VO2 or maximum aerobic performance, MAP.
Aerobic power.
Yeah.
Aerobic power. Thank you. I still don't understand how they are doing it, except that the result is, I think I'm an A now in those races. Sully's an A, I think.
Not
Oh,
anymore.
last night he could go all the
So
way
they-
down to C.
So there were so many complaints about the initial setup that they redid it.
Uh-huh.
And so I went from only able to sign up for A races, but now I can sign up for A, B, or C after they changed it.
So did they move because I think Tiago had a bunch of explanations that involved math and magic that no one really followed, I think.
you know,
But there was a wattage
you know that
cutoff.
thing people post where it's like, "Hey, that's too long for me to read," but either like congratulations or I'm sorry that happened.
The TLDR.
That's how I approach it.
I'm like, I'm a nerd for math, but I still didn't. And I was
Listen,
like putting my numbers into Tiago's formula and
I
not getting my VO2
think-
estimate.
What stumbled me was the mass, the M.
Yeah.
I thought that stood for minutes.
Oh,
And I was like, huh, that's weird.
no, that was mass.
Yeah, well, now I know.
Wait a minute.
I did that, and depending on, like, if I took my best 5-minute power, I think it came back with a VO2 of like 42, which is not my
See,
VO2 max.
I did get a 50 out of mine.
What is your VO2
Well, it
max?
depends. The best estimate I can get is Garmin's, which says I'm like a 57. So that's
you go.
not too
Which-
far off of what's probably accurate.
Which is in the purple, right? That's excellent.
Or
Yeah,
Superior. I forget which one it is.
No, I'm getting older, so it's approaching. It's approaching
enjoy
superior.
I do enjoy
It
the
used to be
Garmin
excellent.
virtual age. Oh, your VO2 max puts you at this age range
Oh, yeah.
for your actual age.
I'm virtually 23 still. Thanks, Garmin.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
But yeah.
Congratulations.
So, but there was the VO2 or MAP thresholds, and then there was also like a total wattage cutoff that I think is what was spoiling it for all of us.
360 for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a
Which
5-minute
was-
effort over that. So
I
they
was
were like,
originally,
okay,
I
you're
think,
just an
with-
A now.
Yeah, that was what put Sully up, I think.
Me too.
The 5-minute.
So Alan's always an A.
Yeah.
So he's like, like,
He's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
whatever.
well,
Change much.
I'll whip
The
you.
but this, Greg, this put
This
you in
me
A,
in
right?
and it put Clay in B, which is just nonsense.
So they fixed it, Greg, and now Drew is in B and I am in C, and all things are right in the world.
Do we know what they did to fix it?
Nope.
Okay,
I
good.
don't.
I'm
They
sure you could
pulled
dig through the
Sully
forums.
specifically.
You should
Yeah.
you should get Squirrel on here and do a segment on Friday, like a 5-minute like story time of how and why, and
So
he comments on the forum and like all
Having
that.
never-
Oh,
I don't
I don't have
having
any
understand
never
that.
ridden on a team with Squirrel, I had no idea to which his depths of, like, he's got a list of people that have like beaten him on things, I guess.
Yeah, he saves the screenshots.
He threw it up
It's
there. And I
coming
was
for
like,
you.
I don't even remember that.
How could you not remember? Here's the
Yeah.
evidence.
I'm like, but now I'm super proud of myself because I beat somebody who's really strong on a sprint. Yeah. Once.
Now, one of the questions too was, is it course dependent? You know, is your categorization course dependent? So the course that they're doing is, what is it, Watopia Figure 8?
Right.
You know, okay, well, that's good. That's all fun, but
I don't know, Drew, but I should have posted our B GIF for you. And congratulations.
It's coming. Just wait.
now
He's
I'm gonna
heading
go on
up that
vacation.
route.
I'm gonna go
He's
back
heading
up
to the lake
for
to bring
a
things
month.
back to center.
I'm gonna go to the lake to stay a sick.
Any final
Well,
thoughts,
I'm
Greg?
just the only thing I'm curious for, and we don't know yet, is will it shift? Will it resort based on who signs up for that race?
Right.
Because I think that's one of the things that ZRL Classics tried to do also is
Potential rankings and stuff.
yeah, look at rankings, look at past results, and sort of resort as it goes. I'm curious if they'll try that, or if they just want to verify that this is a really bad way to sort races.
That's kind of what they implied on the forum. He was like, "This is just our first criteria, like the test race."
From a true
Don't-
science
Don't
perspective,
blame us.
I'm fine with that. You start at the ends, you start at the outliers, or start at the worst predictors, and you check them off and work your way to the middle. Like, that's fine. But it's still been comically stupid.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is a hot take, Greg, or what, but you know, like I think we assume that Zwift racing is like everything is one
Sure.
discipline. Whereas outside, like your different categories and different disciplines because they have different
Right.
requirements. So my fear in moving to like a point system, like a just performance based is like, hey, like I might win a 15-minute sprint race against some A's, but I can't even I'm not even in the race on a hilly course, right? And so I wish
That is
there was
how
a way
categories
to
work on the road, right? I mean, it's you
More or
win, you beat people.
Right.
Like there aren't more or less points for one discipline over another.
Sure. But you could
You
be,
just get your ass
but
kicked
you
in
could be an
crit.
A crit racer, and you could be a Cat 1 crit racer and a Cat 4 cyclocross racer
Right.
easily.
I don't know. I think Zwift just needs to have like an automatic upgrade system in place. Like if you win X number of races at the C category, you are automatically a B. You can no longer sign up for C races. You know.
see, but races are so different. Like I think part of the challenge is that, I mean, cycling in real life, the participation rates
Right.
are not
Right.
that high. And so if the goal is to encourage fitness, if the goal is to encourage people to participate, then making me race up the Alp with A's just means I'm never racing up the Alp. Like it's just
I think
Well, and that's
like so. But I don't know that accomplishes what we're trying to do.
But and this is, I mean, we talked about it a little bit in the chat, but this is not, Zwift is not applying this in broad strokes to everyone. You've got to sign up for the race if you want to
Sure.
have it sort you thus. So, and it may be that, I mean, if Zwift gets actually smart about it, they could say, we're going to apply these criteria to these races and these criteria to these races, and they could sort
Yep.
you differently
This requires
based on
a
that,
lot
so
of-
that you still
lot
get
of
to have a
work.
competitive race,
Yep.
which that's all I want, is I want to be competitive in my race.
Sure.
I don't want to fall off.
Yep.
I mean, we've talked about this a little bit for ZRL. When I was racing in B1, I can't hang at the first selection point. I
Yeah.
don't have that 3-minute 6.0 in me.
Yep.
So I'm done. And then I'm chilling at zone 2 in between sprints, which is, I mean, that's fine. But that's
Sure.
not really fun.
As I say, not the object of what you want to do.
Right.
But like, what is it that we want to be threshold the whole time? Because that's not like what happens in a race
No,
either.
I want to be able to, I want to have a fighting chance through the selections and a fighting chance at the end,
Yep.
which
Yep.
isn't totally crazy.
Well, so some of the low hanging fruit is even category
Sure.
enforcement, right? Like, and why have we waited like this long for that? I don't think there's good answers
Right.
for those things.
I think that's because
I agree.
in whole, Zwift racing is getting more attention. I mean, you got GCN covering
Becoming
it.
more popular.
You got, major athletes participating in these events.
Yep.
So
Look, but Alan's espresso machine, somebody said, hey, here's like something that'd be a cool feature, and they did it, and it was out in 2 days.
but those people are hyped up.
And we've been talking
Those people
about
are
this
hyped
for
up on
2
coffee,
years.
though.
They
They're
care
super
about their
productive.
products. So we should send Zwift more coffee.
I mean, you and I both saw when we started talking about coffee,
Alan's nodding like Perc Coffee, not just any coffee, guys.
Alan's eyes lit up like it's a child. This is his baby. You get people that are passionate like that about their job, you can do anything.
There's no end. Oh man.
So we need to get Sterney to replace Eric
Yeah.
Min.
I mean, I'll vote for that.
Oh, whoa.
Just because I can say I know him. I can name drop him.
They just need.
The dirt father for president is
No. They need a racing division.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's the ticket.
Because Min cares about the subscriber number, which is fine. That's his job.
Right.
But yeah,
Doesn't care
they
about
need
the end
someone
product so much
to
as
make it a
the
viable
racers do.
esport in the future, it needs an esports division. My
Agree.
opinion.
well, but I don't think we're even just talking
Yeah.
about esports. I think we're talking about community and community
Yeah.
support. And
Esports.
I don't know.
Esports is like the third deviation away from the mean. We're talking about the first and
but
second
I mean,
deviations
I
right
think
now.
it's
But
like teams produce community, and so races and TTT and like all of that. Like it's a vehicle to lock people
so
into
it-
your product. And so if you have all these people that are just cruising around Watopia, I mean, granted, there's like the pace partners develop their own almost atmosphere and character
Yeah, they
and
do.
whatever. But
I'm in it right now, ignoring the chat
I mean, so,
because I can't stand what they have to say.
that's every day.
But you're right.
I didn't jump in because
That draws people back. Honestly,
I'm only on Zwift because that one time, like I did a TTT. I would not be on here.
Sully
So.
doesn't like the group rides.
Eh.
Some people here might be a little
Group ride,
biased for
Sully.
a group ride. Just saying. You recognize that?
Well, I mean, group rides aren't designed for seats. Like they're designed for the mean, which is B.
Yep.
And so that's even why, like, I was trying to ride with Coco more, and then I feel like that may have been why I was failing some workouts. So like I'm doing 150 watts, like if
Right.
I'm on the bike, which I'm only on the bike because I love you guys.
Hold on.
Like
I'm
otherwise
gonna
I'd be
zoom the
sleeping.
video in. I got a small tear. Right there.
Actually, if Alan hadn't been here, I might have just slept. Then.
that's why we keep getting guests, Sully.
Gonna
So
say,
Sully has to get
the
out of
guests
bed.
keep Sully coming back.
Yeah.
But all episode I've been like, I don't know if they already asked Alan this.
Well, so category catastrophes.
Yeah. That's this week's category catastrophe.
It was a catastrophe. Thank you, Greg, as always. Now, normally this is
It's all
Yeah,
fixed now though.
hopefully. This is also
Because squirrel is a B and I'm a C and Drew is a B.
Right in the world.
So
yeah.
everything's right in the world.
Finished dead last. Don't worry about it, guys.
So, Drew, this is the time where you fill us in on your journey that you've undertaken.
The
Briefly.
MCU. Yeah, briefly. So this week we watched Thor: The Dark World.
Which is one of Greg's favorites.
Is it? Oh, okay, good. Sarcasm. Oh, thank heavens.
I mean, I watched it all.
Yeah,
I checked my phone the whole time. But
Hold on, Alan, do you like MCU movies? Are you into that?
Yes, but the times that I get that they sit
That's
right
dad
now,
life, and
Literally.
yeah, we understand.
5 a.m. on Saturdays while I'm riding my bike.
yeah. Saturday
was-
long ride.
Yeah, The Dark World was just weird. It kind of felt a little contrived. A little.
Which
The
one was
where,
this?
You're introduced to one of the Infinity Stones.
Malekith is the
Yeah.
dark elf.
The three of you are
All
talking.
right.
That's how excited we
The
are.
main antagonist is Malekith. He's the dark elf. They were banished some time ago.
Oh, okay.
The ether.
And then, yeah, the ether, which is one of the
Got it.
stones.
One of the stones. Which
Natalie
also,
Portman
this
gets
was.
infected with it and hangs out with Thor's mom for a while.
Yep.
They
Loki's in
treat her like
prison.
she's a refrigerator woman and push her off to the side.
Yep.
Refrigerator woman.
This moment was like when we were all trying to explain how DQs work in ZRL yesterday at the same time to Drew.
Still not even clear. Not through any fault of your guy. We
There's a line somewhere. And if you go over it, you get
darn
DQ'd.
lasers will get you every time.
But if you knew where it was, you could manage your power. So they don't tell you.
But no, the funniest thing with the
3.5.
movie was, it was the first time, only because you guys just mentioned it with the ether, first time you ever hear about the Stones.
Yeah.
So in the first 5 movies that I've watched, nobody ever mentioned the Stones. Now all of a sudden, Benicio del Toro pops on screen as some weird
The collector.
pawn shop collector.
The collector.
Ooh, Benicio del Toro.
Yeah,
Forgot.
he's a weird dude.
It's a throwback.
In this movie, okay. And he's mentioned the Stones, and I was like, just because of the length of time the movies have been out, I already know what they are. But it was the first time anybody in the movies had mentioned it, so I was like, okay. But yeah, I don't know. I felt like some of it was a little forced. The whole concept behind it, I thought was kind of interesting. It just,
Sure.
a moneymaker.
Now,
So-
the real question we want to know is the eyebrow change and the wig change. Did they improve it for you? I think now.
Only because plenty
I
of
think
people have
that's
mentioned
his real hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. With the brown eyebrows and blondish hair.
And the hair
Flowing
is
locks.
actually his.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
his.
not a wig.
Right. No wig.
I was going to say, it did look more natural. So that part of it is good. But I just.
Thank goodness for that. That makes the movie
an
a
interesting
win
one.
right there. They changed the eyebrows. They let him grow his hair out.
I think the struggle for me at least was I was coming off of Avengers, which is such a better movie.
High.
Yeah. So it was tough to go from that to
What you really needed to do was wait
Dark World.
like a year and a half to watch that one like the rest of us did when it came out. And then you're just like scrounging for anything Marvel. You're like, oh yeah, let's go watch this.
This must be good.
the money grab.
Now,
That
I don't
was,
think it's a money grab. To be fair,
No?
I think if you take it out of context and put it as, was it an entertaining film? Did it
Sure.
further the story? Then
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's true.
That's actually one of my biggest complaints is it's very important for the story, and it's such a stupid movie.
But so next week, right? Iron Man 3.
Loki's character in
For
that
Saturday.
movie though is pretty
He
good.
developed. Yeah, he developed
Yeah.
a lot more because he develops the alliance there with Thor. And,
Sure.
they begin working together. So that was nice to see.
Well,
Drew, you're watching in the order
No,
they were
this
released.
is the
chronological
order. Yeah.
Oh, like that.
So
it's
Iron
much
Man 3
close
is
to
next.
order of release.
I would
But
say the only thing that changes is Captain America, where it comes in.
yeah,
Yeah,
'Cause
because
it's
he
set in the
slots in
past.
randomly.
Don't you start with Captain
So
Marvel?
Captain America.
Like, isn't that like
Captain Marvel comes in.
I
So it's
understand
Captain
what you're saying, Sully. He's following the like Disney Plus recommended order of watch, which is
Yeah.
very, very close to order
Release.
of release, as opposed to chronological events therein.
Interesting.
got it?
So, but yeah, this week I got Iron Man 3, which I mean, only because it's been the most predominant character. You come to be very fond of Iron Man. So,
Sully's out.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, see ya.
It's time. It's like it's 6:45. It's
Oh,
time
boy.
to check breakfast
Child
for
o'clock.
the children.
I want to say,
We'll have to drink cold brew if I don't leave right now and start boiling the water.
we'll end it for everybody. I want to say thanks to Alan
Yep.
for joining
Yes,
us.
thank
Give
you,
us
Alan.
some
Thank
insight
you.
it's
on
been great.
the wonderful elixir that is coffee. So,
I've got like 10 more questions that I'm just going to post in the Discord. So
all right.
Love it. Thanks.
See you guys
This is
next
awesome.
time.
Thank you.